Hello and welcome to the United Devil with me, JB. I hope we're all doing really well this afternoon. I'm doing fantastically well. Today is there's loads of moving parts today. The weather in the UK is absolutely dreadful. It's raining, but do you know what? I do not care. So had an amazing stream this morning, early afternoon. One of the best streams. Absolutely, I cannot thank the chat enough. Absolutely immense. I just honestly just absolutely amazing. You know, I love this community. This community is building. We're going for 6,000 strong now, and even if you want to come here just for the chat, is 100% worth just coming in the chat, just for the amazing people, the intelligent people in the chat, and I promise you it really means so much to people. What I will say is, if you do get into the chat, be respectful of people's opinions in the chat. You know, you can come in even if you want to segue away, as long as it's roughly to do with what we're talking about. I'm happy to engage in that as well. And it is just about opinion. It's about being respectful. I'm not a dictator, as hopefully the chat will let you know. I'm more than happy for you to get your opinions in. I don't mind if you have a different opinion to me. If you want to maybe pivot to another topic, get your opinions, and basically let's just get talking about different things. So after this early afternoon show, hi there, Bobby. How we doing? 5.15 k subscribers, mate. It is, and Bobby is one of the legends of the chat, and he makes this stuff happen, as well as so many of you on the chat as well. So, headline, as we spoke about this morning, I'm just going to get it in there. So, Šeško, so Newcastle have appeared to have backed away, or starting to back away. Reports are starting to come out now that Newcastle are backing away from this Šeško deal. Now, where is this coming from? So this is coming from Craig Hope. Now, the Daily Mail, that's where he comes from. He's a chief football reporter for the Daily Mail, and if you know 123k on X, you know we all have our opinions about the DM. The Daily Mail, I have my opinions on them as well, but Craig Hope is the northern reporter on that. Now, obviously, he's not going to come out and say that. Craig Hope, I do believe gets some things from the club. He has reported as well that Isak, Liverpool have walked away now from Isak as well, because Newcastle obviously want really big money on that. Bobby says Newcastle are in the mud again. They are. Again, I do have sympathy with their fans, because at the end of the day, you know, it is about fans, and whether we are United fans or Newcastle fans, you know, all we really want is best for the club. So if you have just joined, don't forget to give us a like, favourite and subscribe. You know, a like really does help the channel out. So this is coming from Craig Hope, who is the Daily Mail chief football reporter, and he's come out and basically he has corroborated in some respects what we were talking about this morning. And what were we saying this morning? So this morning, we were, so Ross Harwood, and I will quote him again this morning, because I think it's really important to give people credit where credit is due. Romano and Ornstein, this has not come out yet, and I will talk about what we've said on here and my opinions, and this is obviously just based on my opinion and logic. So Ross Harwood come out this morning and said the deal for Šeško is advancing. Personal terms have been agreed. Talks of Leipzig over a deal structure is getting close to agreement, and this deal will go through. Now, I've said, and again, you know, people live and die on their opinions. That goes with the logic that I've put in place. Now, what we were talking about this morning, and what I said, is that I do believe this to be true, and it corroborates my own thoughts on it and what I think is logically happening, because Newcastle let's be clear on this. Newcastle made their move, and they made their move hard. They made their move first. They went all in on Šeško. The price was agreed. No issue whatsoever from them. Wanted to pay what Leipzig wanted, and the player. Now, United then came in, and as we already said on here, that we were in talks, and I believe that we were going to be in for him. So I think that has come true. I do believe that Ross Harwood is correct. So on this morning here, I basically said that, and we've all said that, not just me. And we then said, we expected this deal to progress through the day, and the indication that Ross is right and other people's opinions are right is that Newcastle will now start to back away from this deal, because the moment that they do back away from this deal basically means that people like Ross and other people that have that opinion and share that opinion, I think it is an accurate view. So according to Craig Hope, Newcastle have now backing away from this deal, because Šeško, as was reported this morning, and I think I believe that, Šeško, the deal has been agreed. We've agreed personal terms. We've been talking to Šeško for a very, very, very long time. And United, what Šeško wanted United to bid, and bid early and bid hard, and because of what happened with Arsenal. Obviously, he was Arsenal's number one choice. Don't believe the Gooners or the Gunners when they say that he wasn't. Wigid Stellenboom, welcome to the chat. Newcastle is not a big club. Newcastle, and I fully respect to Newcastle fans. They love their club. They are a big club, right? I don't share that, but if that's what you believe, then that's fine. But Newcastle historically have a massive fan base. They sell out the stadium. They are a big club in terms of Premier League as well. But what they don't have is they don't have the aura that we have. They are the richest club in the world, but you can't get that money into the club. So City, when they did what they did, it was a different era and a different time. Newcastle cannot do that. So maybe in a couple of years, maybe they will be, and they'll take the strategic approach that City did when they went out and just bought a load of players, and that's what they could do, right? But they can't do that. So what do we have as a club? Whether people like it or not, whether Liverpool fans like it or not, and again, respect to all fans, this is not a dig. We should be an irrelevant club after our last 12 years, but whether other fans like it or not, we are still the top draw. Like, we fill out stadiums. Like, when we played West Ham, that was the biggest crowd that they had. I think it was bigger than the Euro final, the women's 82,000 capacity stadium for a pre-season. It was filled out. We are still the biggest draw in town. Now, whether that's lucky or fortunate, whatever you think of our squad, you can take the mick and say we finished 15th and our players are not great and we sign flops and whatever else. And this is not arrogant, because I do not believe that we deserve it necessarily. We're very fortunate to still have this position, and it's not going to last forever. But we are still the biggest club in England. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. Our fan base is massive. And even from a personal perspective, and even from a visual perspective from a player, don't forget players are brands as well. And Šeško's, why wouldn't he want to come to us? One of the biggest club into the access to so many different parts of the world. Take this chat, right? I speak to so many amazing people from across all over the world, and times that by 1 million, and that's what we have. So even from a personal perspective, Šeško's brand, as a brand, we are phenomenal. So from Šeško's personal perspective, for financial reasons, so from visibility, he's going to want to come to us. It is a logical perspective that he's going to want to come to us. And this has been proven time and time again. So are we lucky? Possibly. This is not thanks to this regime and this and the owners of the club, we are a global brand and we are a powerhouse, and this has been shown. So therefore, Newcastle, sadly for their fans, I sympathise, but it's business. We need to catch them up. We need to do what we need to do, and that is now what we do. And this Šeško deal does prove that. So I do believe we've agreed personal terms. We have because we had to, because Newcastle were pushing this deal hard. I do believe, and I still believe, that this deal is going to get done really, really quickly. And as we said this morning, what I expect to happen now, what we expect to happen now is Newcastle to back out. The moment they back out of this deal, this is when you know this is real. So I do think Ross Harwood is right. I'm going to back him on this one. I do believe that. So Newcastle now are backing out. If you have just joined, where's this coming from? And you know, I will still give respect to Ornstein and Fabrizio. You know, when they come out and say it, then it becomes true. But Craig Hope, the Daily Mail chief reporter from up north, has come out and basically said that Newcastle are backing away. Also, Liverpool have backed away from Isak. You know, they've offered upwards of 150 million for the player, but it's been rejected out of hand, because I don't think there's enough time for Newcastle to get a striker that they want. So Isak is going to have to stay for another season, and that's a chance that they're gonna have to take. So he has reported that Liverpool have backed away from the deal. Liverpool are not going to go back in for the deal. It's up to Newcastle now to go back to them. So as we did say this morning, because of a logical perspective, not because I want to be right, but logically, it makes sense. If you put all the pieces together, what Fabrizio said, logically, this makes sense. So all the cards are in play, and I'm expecting a deal in principle, maybe today, tomorrow. It is a weekend, so maybe Monday. I am expecting a here we go. I'm expecting something more concrete, even if it's a Šeško is negotiating. I think that's all done. RB are negotiating. This deal is getting done, and it's getting done soon. So Temiskin's in the chat, another legend of the chat. Yes, I like Šeško, Carlos B, Humland, so Emi Martinez, Donnarumma for next season again. Hackney's already gone to Ipswich, hasn't he? Luis Sanchez on loan. I love when you put the players in, my friend. Yeah, again, fantastic players. Let's see what we can do in that. Hesty, do you remember how far for and Šeško were before they turned to Gyökeres? Was it personal terms agreed yet? So Hesty, according to Ross Harwood this morning, and I'm happy to go back and read that again. Where is it? From Ross Harwood. Where are we? Let's read the quote again. I should know this quote. I've said it so many times now. So this morning, Ross Harwood came out and where is it again? He's done. You think I'd have it on speed dial, wouldn't you? So the deal for Šeško is advancing. Personal terms are already agreed. I believe these personal terms have been agreed for a long time. Fabrizio did say beginning of the week, you watch this deal is going to explode. Talks of Leipzig over a deal structure are getting close to agreement. Expect this deal to go through. We spoke about that this morning and what we really said on that this morning. That I personally, this is my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You can have a different opinion. I back up. I back up Ross purely because of all the logic and everything that goes behind it. And Newcastle pushing for this deal has really forced us to push this deal. We don't need to sell to buy to get this deal done. And I believe that this deal is going to get announced quicker than anything else, purely because we have to do it. And because the player wants it done and pre-season has come to an end and we need him in the team. Newcastle, according to Craig Hope, who is the Daily Mail correspondent for up north, has come out and said that Newcastle are now backing away from this deal. As we said this morning, the moment that Newcastle back away from the deal, that's when you know. Craig has also followed up and said that Newcastle have turned down 120, 150 million pound bid for Isak. Liverpool are not going to come back in with another bid just yet, on the basis that Newcastle will have to go back to them. I mean, whatever your opinion is on that, if you're offering 150, between 120 and 150 million for a player, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to go big on a player. Newcastle have currently rejected that, so which means that they're still looking for a player. Isak has then come out and said he has no intentions of playing for Newcastle again. So that stalemate is up there. I do have sympathy with Newcastle fans on this one. All they want to do is play in the Champions League, but the draw of United is obviously too big for Šeško, so I'm expecting this deal to happen really, really quickly. And to answer Hesty, yeah, it is. Personal terms have been agreed. Hey mate, I'm very concerned that Newcastle has backed off. Why isn't this buying PSG, Italian teams or Spanish teams after Šeško? So Jay, again, another intelligent comment from you, as always. The problem is, is PSG don't need a striker. So let's look at this from a logical perspective. Okay, Newcastle have backed off. Not because he's not good. They went all in on him. So let's just tackle each of these teams, right? Newcastle went hard in for him. Arsenal went hard in for him. He was Arsenal's #1 target. Arsenal fans can say, no, Gyökeres is done, whatever. They went in for Šeško. He was their #1 target, but he was seen as very expensive. And that's key to this, is expensive. They lined up, so Berta lined up 2 deals. Gyökeres slightly cheaper and Šeško. So they tried to use Šeško. So they tried to use Gyökeres to get Šeško done. Okay, they played him off. RB didn't want to drop the price, so Arsenal pivoted. But Šeško was their #1 choice. Newcastle, Isak, they knew that they were going to move, so they immediately went to Šeško. All in, money down. Money on the table. We were umming and ahhing because we were undecided internally, 50-50, and we were deciding on that. But the moment Newcastle, and they went all in for Šeško. They've backed out, not because of the player, not necessarily because of the price. They pay any price. I mean, there's 120 to 150 on the table from Liverpool for Isak. They've backed off because they've lost the race, and this is not a dig. This is not me saying that would have, they've lost this race. They backed out because they've lost this race, and it's basically to save face. And I don't blame them for doing that. Craig Hope has confirmed that Newcastle are backing out. They've backed out, and Isak at the moment is not going to Liverpool. Will he? Possibly, but they've backed out because they know they can't win this race. If you're looking at other teams, Bayern don't need a striker. Also, he is expensive. Bayern typically like to do free deals, right? Bayern like to line up Bundesliga players, and they don't typically do that. Also, they've just spent 70 million on Diaz. So they can't afford that even now. So they've got Harry Kane, Bundesliga, they're quite happy with that as well. PSG don't need a striker, so they're perfectly happy with their striker. So PSG don't need a striker. They've got that young kid in there. They've got all that they need. They don't need Šeško, and the Italian teams simply can't afford him. Yeah, they simply can't afford that. Spanish teams, there's not many Spanish teams that can. So a Real Madrid don't need him. They got Mbappe. They don't need another striker. That's fact. So Barcelona as well. They've got Lewandowski for at least another year. Again, they pull levers, and they can't afford him. So what this comes down to is, if you're looking at across all those teams, it's not because they haven't come in for him because they don't want him. They simply can't afford him, and those are facts. So I'm not worried in the slightest in terms of that. Hesty says, I'm not sure yet about Šeško going to United before here we go. And again, I get that completely. 100%. this is my opinion, okay? And I base my opinion on my logic and how I interpret information out there. Doesn't mean I'm right. Maybe it goes another week. But we've had to simply make this deal happen quick because Newcastle were in and pushing hard on this player. We had to make a commitment early. I do believe terms have been agreed, and this almost suits us in some respects because it just means that they can go, look, we've done another deal, and then they can wait until the end of the window then to get players. This placates this fan base. This keeps this fan base happy. It really does keep this fan base happy, and then they can then take their time for the next month to get other deals done. So this completely makes sense to me. Wagid says Hayden Hackney is a good midfielder. He's gone to Ipswich. What I can see happening is he goes to Ipswich, he does well, and then maybe next season we go in for 40, 50 million. That is what we do. Midfield wise, we may do another midfielder. I think goalkeeper is next, but I'm not sure how much those deals are going to happen. Šeško, we're going to have to do this deal and then be happy to wait until the end of the window to get other deals done. Onana needs to go. Onana has been told, it's been reported by Whitwell and others, that if we ask Onana to go, then he goes. And that is where we are with Onana. He needs to go. Jay says, if Šeško is that good, the price wouldn't matter for Arsenal or Newcastle. If he's that good, then he would have made both teams stronger for Europe and Prem games. Again, I'm loving this debate, Jay. I think you put some really good points in there, and again, this makes me think, and this, I think you make some good logical points in this. For Newcastle, as it's been reported, price doesn't matter. From a Newcastle standpoint, they know they've got 120 to 150 mil. For Newcastle, it's not the price. It is not the price for the player, and it's not the price for the player for personal terms. They want him. So Newcastle want him as the figurehead, as the new star in the team. That is what they want him for. He is their big striker, their top target. That Isak has gone. They haven't gone anywhere else. They went straight for Sesko the moment that they knew that Isak was out. So the price for them is inconsequential. They don't care about the price. The price is inconsequential. They have the money there, probably to pay in one go, so they don't care. Arsenal was slightly different. So Berta, if you look at historically, he's trying to get the best deal. And I get that completely. You know, they're Arsenal are looking at going for Eze as well. So you think about it. The less money you spend on a player, the more money you've got elsewhere. It wasn't necessarily in terms of the price they couldn't afford it. They just didn't want to pay it. And at that point in the window, when you've got other strikers out there, Gyökeres was seen as an equal striker. Okay, when there's loads of strikers out there, you can try to negotiate. If they hadn't have got Gyökeres at that point in time, and he wasn't available, and he came to us, they would have gone for Šeško. He was their number one target. So it's not a case of teams not paying. He's just been unfortunate. Dealing with Arsenal and Berta, that's what Berta does. He always tried to get the best price. That's a fact. And they used him. But Šeško was the number one target. It wasn't necessarily the price as such. It was a case of Arsenal wanted to get the best deal. Newcastle were all in straight away to him. They wanted him to lead the Champions League. Don't forget Šeško's Champions League experience. And they wanted him to lead them in the Champions League. And that's where they are on that. So now they're having to pivot away because Newcastle are now going to walk away from this deal. Wally says, Bobby, legend of the chat, Saudi should sell up and buy. I agree with you, mate. I want Saudi. I want Ineos out. Even now, I don't care if they buy Šeško. I want them out. We need to clear the debt. Glazer's gone. I want them out. And you're not going to hear anything different from me. Walid, any news on keepers? So the latest update is it's all gone a bit quiet. Onana will go if he's asked to go. So therefore, let's hope that he goes. I think we will go for another goalkeeper, but I think we need to be slightly patient on that one. I think Šeško deal makes perfect sense, and that will be the deal that we'll do, and we'll maybe have to wait for a keeper. But in terms of that, Onana is open to leaving. Where he goes, I don't know. So there's not a lot really to report on that just yet. But I think once Šeško is done, it's going to take a couple of weeks. But to bear in mind, the season starts in 2 to 3 weeks, so we need to get these deals done now. So I'm expecting more and more around the keeper very soon. Jimmy Enko says, please, United don't waste time, get Šeško. I don't think they are wasting time, my friend. I think they will get him done. I think this is getting done soon, mate. I think this is getting done soon. Newcastle have backed off. We've had to make a bid. It's going to be accepted. We've done negotiations with the player. The next step for me is Šeško wants us. Šeško has agreed terms with us, and then it's all guns and it's all go. MSO Gaming and Create Channel, main need defence, midfielder very important. I agree with you. I think centre midfielder, I would demand a centre midfielder. Are we going to get a centre midfielder? I don't know. I agree with you. We need one more in there, but unless Collier goes, Casemiro goes, I don't think whatever happens is we're not getting a world-class, unless they surprise us. I don't think we're getting a world-class midfielder just yet. I think that's the next season. I think we need a goalkeeper. We do need another midfielder. Maybe a loan comes in. Luis from Juventus, it would be kind of my pick. That nice, easy, cheap loan deal to do. 25 million gives you legs in there, experience. But Nottingham Forest look like they're progressing on that deal. So I don't necessarily know where we go there, but I do think we need one more in there. I agree with you. Hesty says, I want to be wrong about this, but I think Liverpool still bid again for Isak. Isak can't go into the team after this fiasco. I agree with you. Newcastle, I think Newcastle and their fans, I feel badly for them. Isak wants to go. I think they're going to be forced into it. Newcastle will sign a striker. They will sign a striker. Isak doesn't want to go back. As you said, too much has happened, and I can't see him wanting to get back into the team. I think he's burnt his bridges there. Newcastle will get their man, but it will be top whack, and it will be towards the end of the window. Newcastle will move for a striker. Ollie Watkins is my bet, but you don't know their scouting. I'm not close enough to Newcastle to know that, but I think that they will move on unless they do something stupid like go back in for Šeško and they offer 100 million for the player and give him 400k, then maybe. But Šeško doesn't strike me as that type of player. Hesty says, I think Arsenal will pull out from Šeško because I think Arsenal pulled out from Šeško because their other option, Gyökeres, they need to win the Premier League year this bad. Factually, and I can only give you the facts of what were reported. Arsenal left the Gyökeres deal because Gyökeres was cheaper. Šeško was their number one target. That's well known. That's a fact. They pulled out because Berta likes to get the best deal. Šeško was the number one target. If he's good enough for Arsenal, good enough for Newcastle, Arsenal pulled out because Gyökeres was slightly cheaper, and they just didn't want to pay the price. Will they regret that when we play them? Let's hope so. We have other option. Watkins is 29 but too expensive. Hesty, my friend, I again, valid opinion. Watkins is still there. Look, until we get a here we go and the deal's done, right? Anything technically is possible. Watkins is dead. Not the person, but the Watkins deal is gone. Aston Villa, even though we all know they don't want him anymore, that deal's gone. They want 55 to 60 million. And even if they come in now, it's too late. Because if you notice, that's gone quiet around him. The deal's gone. United are going to get Šeško done. In fact, I believe it's pretty much there or thereabouts. Watkins is off the table. Watkins is gone. Unless something drastic happens now, Šeško will be a United player. Today, tomorrow, well, a medical still has to be done. It's a weekend as we talk, but I expect him to be a player by next week. He needs a tiny bit of pre-season, and also we got the Arsenal game. So it's going to happen, and it's going to happen quick. Wagid says Newcastle will get Ollie Watkins or Jackson. Exactly. I agree with that. I really do agree with that. I think Newcastle will be forced into that type of player. I think Newcastle are going to go for Watkins. That's what I think. That's where I think that they'll go next. I'm convinced of it. Or Jackson even. But the problem that they've got is that teams know that they're going to have 150, 120 million in their back pocket, and Villa are not going to. And they know they're going to be. They know they need a striker, so there's no way that Jackson is worth that 80 million. I don't think Newcastle are silly enough to do that, but I think they'll pay 60 million for Watkins, and I think that is where they go. And Watkins is a great player. He's 29 years old, fantastic player. I still wouldn't say no to him. And for the Champions League and the goals and what it is they're trying to do, that's competition for us. I hope they don't sign him, because that's a really, really good signing. So they'll improve there. Watkins is a fantastic player. I would still take him today. And, I think that's a really, really good signing for them. So, there's still, even if they don't get Šeško, which they're not going to, according to Craig Hope, they've backed away. So, let's not discount them just yet. Jay says, I'd love Watkins. He's exactly what we need, but either or I'll back whoever comes. Yeah, I'm 99% sure it will be Šeško, 1% Idrissa Gueye, the 18-year-old. Why would Newcastle switch from Šeško to Watkins? This is very sus to me. Some good points there, Jay. And again, I can't argue with that opinion. My view on it is that they're shifting from Šeško to Watkins because they've lost the race. It's not they've shifted from Šeško to Watkins because they've identified Watkins as a better player. If you look at it from a logical perspective, right? And this is how I see it, right? Watkins is there to be done. Villa want Watkins gone. They want 60 million, okay? The whole world and his wife knows that Isak's going to go to Liverpool for about 120 million. Even from a Newcastle perspective, if you sell Isak for, say, 130 million and you sign Watkins for 60, that's 60 million. They could do that deal tomorrow. So Newcastle would go for Watkins straight away. They wouldn't need to go for Šeško straight away. That's a deal that they could do now. But they haven't, because they wanted Šeško. So it's not a case of they haven't pivoted from Šeško to Watkins because they found out that Šeško's a bad player. They went for Šeško first of all. That's the first place they went. Otherwise, they would have gone for Watkins. They could have got him. They could have just gone for Watkins now last week, but they haven't yet because they wanted to Šeško. So I do think they'll now pivot away, but that's not because Watkins, they see him as a better player. It's because they haven't got Šeško. That's my opinion. You may disagree, my friend, but I think that is where they've gone on this one. Esty says, I'm curious about gentlemen's agreements. Good point. You brought that in. Of Šeško, that special clubs can buy him for 64 mil. I wonder if United includes that list of special clubs. Hesty, I'm glad you brought it in because I completely forgot about that. Fantastic comment there. Agreed. There certainly is an agreement in place. And let's see if we United are one of those special clubs. We only time will tell over that, and we're going to find out in the next day or two. If you have just joined, obviously don't forget to like, favourite and subscribe. Welcome to this chat. This is the most amazing chat ever. Breaking news from Craig Hope. If you want to know, he's the Daily Mail chief correspondent or sports writer up north. He's reported that Newcastle have now backed away from this deal, or backing away from this deal. To back that up, Isak, the deal for him, or the offer from him, has been rejected offhand. And Liverpool are not going to go back in just yet, because they've offered between 120 up to 150 mil. Newcastle need to now go and decide what it is that they want to do. This is off the back of a report this morning from Ross Harwood. And the quote this morning, again, you would have thought I had that on speed dial, wouldn't you? Quote from this morning is that the deal for Šeško is advancing. Personal terms have been agreed. This was 5 hours ago. Talks of Leipzig over a deal structure getting close to an agreement. And this, for me, this backs that up. I do agree with that, whether you do or not, because Ornstein, and as soon as it comes out of Ornstein or Fabricio, that is when we know that the deal is real. But as of now, as we said this morning, the moment that Newcastle start to back off, this is when you know this deal is going to get done. So that is where we are right now. Just a slightly shorter show, just to let you guys know, as I promised I would, I'd come on and yeah. So let me know in the comments once the video stops. Get in there. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this is going to happen? Do you believe Ross Harwood? What is your logical, your mind say that this will happen? Are you still concerned? And let's hope that it develops further. If it does, I'll jump back on again. As I always say on here after this, it's really important to me to say this and acknowledge the people in the chat or people who've watched, is that you can't buy time. You cannot buy time. And you spending half an hour, a minute with me means the world to me. So you can't buy that time. And I genuinely, and I'll say it pretty much after every stream, because I don't take this for granted. I really appreciate it, and it means more to me than you will ever know. There's absolutely legends in the chat. You've got Bobby in the chat. You've got Jay United in the chat, who's becoming a legend of the chat. I absolutely love the contribution there from Bobby as well. Hesty has got in the chat as well. Absolute legends of the chat. MSO Gaming, Jimmy, Waleed, Bobby's obviously popped in there as well. Temishkin is in there as well. My guide says, why isn't Man City making a move for Alexander Isak? They can afford him. They don't need him, mate. They don't play with two strikers. I don't think that they need it at all. So I think that's where we are on that. Brilliant show. Keep your ears to the ground. My X and my Outlook is on the channel. Keep your ears to the ground. Let me know. Again, get your opinions in. Comment, like, favourite, subscribe. Push this out to as many people as you can. Like I say, even if you're new to the channel and all you want to do is you don't like me and you don't agree with my opinions, that's fine. Get in this chat. I'm telling you, this chat is some of the most intelligent and fantastic chat. It cheers me up. I love coming on here and talking to you guys. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here. I'll, of course, jump back on if anything else breaks. If not, have a wonderful rest of your day, morning, evening, whatever you do. And I'll see you probably quite soon. I'll see you on the next one, guys.